she'll be coming round. The White House, she'll be coming round. The White House when she comes. Yeah!
All right. I love it.
Sydney, where did you get that flag?
Oh, one of the tourists gave it to me one time. Ever since I started driving this bus many years ago, they gave me that flag. I've kept it ever since.
All I said in my letter to the president is that I wanted a flag of the United States. My name is Ileana Quander, and I'm 10 years old. I'm from Washington, D.C.
I'm Scott Kendall. I'm 11 years old, and I live in Huntingburg, Indiana. I wrote President Reagan about a ghost that's supposed to be in the White House, and I hope I don't see it.
I'm Michelle Holcomb. I'm 10 and a half years old, and I live in Napa, California. I wrote that I would like to be the first female president. I'm Kate Laporte from Birmingham, Michigan, and I'm 13 years old. I wrote to President Reagan that I want to be an astronaut when I grow up.
I'm Corey DeMarco, 12. I come from Avis, Pennsylvania. I wrote the president about the Senate, and I told him about my whole family being in scouting.
I wrote the President of the United States, told him I am 12 years old and in the 7th grade, and that I would like to see on TV a tour of Washington, D.C. and the White House. I signed it, thank you, your friend Christopher Turner from Springfield, Missouri.
Coming up on the left, kids, will be the White House. We'll be approaching the south lawn of the White House in just a few seconds. I've been told to take you kids around to the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue address.
Well, I'd like to have that flag flying over the White House.
How much land does the White House sit on?
Well, the White House sits on 17.5 acres of land.
I'm Liz Wood. I work for the Secret Service, and I'm going to show you around the White House today. Would you like to come with me?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, this is the first room that I'd like to show you in the White House. It's the East Room. It's the largest room in the building. The President uses the East Room for his press conferences. The room also is used for any type of meeting in which there are going to be a large number of guests present. Over to the left is the most famous portrait in the White House. The portrait is of George Washington, painted by Gilbert Stuart. This is the only object in the White House that was here when the mansion was first occupied in 1800 by John and Abigail Adams. Now, George Washington is the only president who never lived in the White House.
This is a real privilege for me to be here at a place I've never been before and go to places I've only seen on TV and postcards.
Now, the Blue Room is the most formal reception room here. This is where the president quite often will receive a head of state, will hold a swearing-in ceremony for a member of his cabinet. Now, over to my left,
thinking about
portrait of John
all the
Connor,
secret
our 10th president.
agents and all that Secret Service guys around.
15. But the most fun thing about this room is this is where our Christmas tree goes every year.
Does Mrs. Reagan or President Reagan ever come in this room?
Quite often, they will come in here together and form a receiving line to greet their guests. But I think if we go into the next room, I can show you one that Mrs. Reagan at least uses a little more often. Now, the red room is used as a sitting room and as a parlor. And Mrs. Reagan quite often will have tea here with the wife of a visiting ambassador or a head of state or prime minister. Now, let's go into the state dining room. Now, up to 140 guests can be seated in this room. This is the second largest room in the White House. Over to my left, we have a portrait of our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln.
I was thinking about Lincoln's ghost.
Could we sit at the table?
Of course. Choose your chair. When we have a large dinner here, this table is removed from the room and round tables are brought in. When the president has a breakfast or luncheon for a small number of groups, then the people will be seated here.
Does the president sit in this chair?
Well, if he wants to, he certainly may, but normally he sits in the chair right across with the chair with the arms.
May I sit in it?
Of course. How does it feel?
Fine.
Where does the first family live?
The first family lived on the top 2 floors of the building, 1 floor above where we are right now. As a matter of fact, I believe there's someone up there right now who's waiting to see you. Would you like to come with me?
She was looking down at us and was like, oh, hi up there. And it was pretty special.
Welcome to the White House. Well, it's nice to have you all here. Now, I have a surprise for you. I want to show you a very, very special room in the White House. Okay? All right. Did you enjoy your tour?
Yeah.
That's
It was exciting.
Good. Now, this is Lincoln's bedroom.
This is great.
But actually, he never really slept here. He used it as his office and cabinet room. It wasn't until President Truman installed the bedroom furniture from Lincoln's era that it became known as Lincoln's bedroom. So much took place in this room. President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation here.
When I was president, I asked him if he had ever seen Lincoln's ghost. Have you?
No, I haven't seen his ghost yet, but I felt his presence. And I'm not the only one who has. Eleanor Roosevelt said that she felt his presence, too. As a matter of fact, her secretary passed Lincoln's bedroom one day, and she saw a lanky figure sitting on the bed, pulling on his boots, and she screamed and ran as fast as she could. And then another time, there was a night when the Queen of the Netherlands was staying across the hall, and she heard a knock on the door. And when she opened the door and saw Abraham Lincoln standing there before her, she fainted.
You said that Lincoln never slept in this bed. Has any other president slept here?
Yes, several other presidents slept here. Woodrow Wilson, Theodore Roosevelt, John Kennedy.
Has the Lincoln ghost been seen lately?
Not that I know of, but I keep hoping he's going to make an appearance soon.
Was that painting here when Lincoln was alive?
There's a story that was Lincoln's favorite painting, and every time the painting is a little askew, the people say, oh, well, he was here last night. Well, now you're going to visit my husband in the Oval Office, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you'll have a great time with him. Tell him hello for me.
But all I kept on thinking about was how beautiful she was.
Have a good time. It was nice to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
We will return after these messages.
Joey called this morning.
So how's Joey? What's wrong?
Nothing.
Nothing? Our Joey called 2,000 miles. The kids all right?
Fine.
Sally?
Fine.
The kids are fine. Sally's fine. So why did he call?
I asked him that too.
And why are you crying?
Because Joey said I called. Just because I love you, Mom.
Reach out and touch someone.
Mom, Dad, it's Mary here. I know you're wondering what's she doing on television. It's a crazy story. I'll tell you later. But as long as I have your attention, I want you to know that for graduation, I'd like the Kodak disc camera. The disc winds itself, it flashes itself, makes it real hard to miss a picture.
it. I don't even know him. It's fun. The Kodak disc camera. Buy me this and I'll never have to bother you on television again.
The Burks are a farming family in California's raisin land. And when they sit down to breakfast, they have Kellogg's Raisin Bran. See, the Burks have a saying known by every raisin growing clan.
The more plump, juicy raisins, the better the Raisin Bran.
And there's 2 heaping scoops of raisins in every package of Kellogg's Raisin Bran cereal. No other Raisin Bran gives you more.
Just ask the whole Burke family about those 2 scoops of raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Wednesday on Real People, Video Mania strikes. And visit a bar where what you see... Clever and original. Buffalo Bill.
I stink, don't I? Wednesday's gonna be swell. I mean that sincerely.
I was really very nervous, but it was a mixture of nervousness and excitement.
When I was walking to the Oval Office, I was thinking if I looked okay, if my clothes were straight and everything. I saw the doors at the end, and they looked like they were a mile away.
I was afraid of meeting the president and that I'd do something wrong.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Oval Office. I got all your letters, and I'm delighted to now be able to sit and talk with you. There was one young lady wrote me a letter one day that she hasn't been here, but she told me all the things that I'd have to do. And then she said, now get over to the Oval Office and go to work. Well, here we are in the Oval Office, but we'll visit and we won't work. And I thank you for your letters. It's good to see you.
You like living in the White House?
Like living in the White House? Yes. It's a very lovely place. It's a very beautiful home. And, of course, you're only a temporary tenant. The home belongs to all of you. It belongs to all the people of the country. There are some drawbacks. When I was, maybe Ileana's age, my father worked in a store, and we lived above the store. And sometimes I think living in the White House is a little like that. To go to work, you just get in an elevator and come down here to the office. It's confining.
Do you have to stay here all the time?
You'd be surprised what can happen if I open a door to walk out. For example, when I was first in this office, they had neglected to explain to me something about it. And it was a beautiful day, and there were some squirrels playing out there on the patio outside the door, and I went over and opened the door and went out to look at them. I thought, I'm here in the White House grounds, and I didn't know that all of these doors are connected to bells that alert the Secret Service. And when I opened that door, someplace a bell rang, and the next thing you know, as I say, I was a group. I wasn't by myself anymore.
What are all those saddles over there?
Well, there's an artist named Paul Rossi. They're in bronze. They're bronze sculptures. And they were loaned to us by a friend, as many of the things around here were. Many of the things in the White House are loaned or given by people who have them, and they have historic value and so forth.
Mr. President, has every president sat at the same desk you do?
No, some presidents have chosen other desks for what reason or another. But this desk, that's very unusual. It has quite a story. Many years ago, there was a British ship known as the HMS Resolute. And it was on a rescue mission for an explorer up in the Arctic, near the North Pole. And the Resolute got trapped in the ice. And sometime later, an American whaling vessel found the ship and managed to bring it out of the ice and towed it back down here. And some years later, Queen Victoria had that desk made from the planks of the HMS Resolute. And I'm going to tell you a little secret that most people don't know. when I sat down at that desk, I found that I had trouble getting my knees underneath the desk. It wasn't quite high enough. So without changing any of the decor, as you can see, we had our workmen with that bottom strip around there raise the desk 2 inches, and now I can get my knees under the desk. How many of you, I'd like to ask, how many of you have an allowance, say a weekly allowance, and do you have to earn it, or just give it to you?
I wish I did.
You wish you did.
Last summer, I earned $200 for mowing yards and raking leaves.
Mowing lawns and breaking leaves and so forth. What'd you do with the money?
I bought presents for my family and put some up in the bank.
Well, that's pretty nice. How would you all like to see where the money's printed? The Bureau of Engraving. Would you,
Okay. Yeah.
All right. That'll be next stop.
This is like a money-making factory where you're going to the Department of Treasury headquarters. That's where the Secretary of Treasury has his office.
What's the name of the Secretary of the Treasury again?
Donald Reagan.
Here are the presses. This is where the money is made. So come on in, we'll take a look at it.
How much money's made each day?
How much money is made each day? Oh, there's literally millions and millions each day.
Do they make a $1,000 bill?
No, we used to make $1,000 bills. It's only $100 bills are the biggest that we print now.
When was the first bill made?
This Bureau of Engraving and Printing and the United States government doing the printing started in 1862, 120 years ago. Okay, now look, I got a lot of other things to show you. This way. Can we go? Now, I'm going to show you something that I don't think you've ever seen before in your life. You look over here, you know what all that is? That's money, cash, currency. And in this vault, all the way that you see, we've got almost $3 billion. 3 billion in this vault. No samples now, no samples.
What if somebody tries to steal?
Well, we got very good protection here. We know that we got all kinds of armed guards, we got thick vaults, everything else. Now look, let me show you something. Now, these are stacks of $100 bills. Now here, hold that. Do you know how much money you got? That's $400,000. You want to handle it? Now you can say you have almost $500,000 in your hands. Go ahead, you take it. Here, let Ellie take it. There you go. You got it? That's $400,000. Go ahead.
It's heavy.
Pretty heavy? How about you? Do you want to handle it?
Oh, do we each get one of them?
Remember I told you on the way in, no samples. Look.
Why do we need so much money?
Why do we need so much money? I don't need it. Oh, I could use it, but I don't need it. But why we need it is that people pay for things in cash. And money wears out. Did you know that? It's like your clothes. It wears out.
How thick are the walls in this?
Several feet thick.
I bet Lincoln's ghost could get in here.
Oh, yeah. But he's supposed to stay pretty close to that bedroom in the White House. He's not supposed to go roaming around Washington.
Us kids are trying to see how much we can catch more than anybody else.
I wish I could have had all that money so I could have bought everything I wanted. A motorcycle and one of those little model rockets. A couple of them. That's all I want.
When I wrote my letter, I said that I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. Do you think it's ever possible for a girl or a woman to ever go into space?
To ever go into space? My goodness, we have 6 women in training right now as astronauts. But rather than me trying to go on with all of that, we have an astronaut and we have the Smithsonian. That will be your next stop.
This is the Air and Space Museum, which is the most popular museum in the world.
At the Air and Space Museum, I like meeting Mr. Ripley, the Secretary of Smithsonian.
Colonel Engel can tell you all about manned flight, especially in aircraft, because he's an expert, and he flew in that thing up there. That's the X-15.
It flew 6 times as fast as the speed of sound. It flew faster than 4,400 miles an hour. Now, something that you're getting to see here that you can't see anywhere else in the world is you can see the whole history of flight, the whole history of flight of the whole world. Right in front of you is the Wright brothers flyer, 1903, and that's the actual airplane. It's the original airplane.
That's the spirit of St. Louis. You see over there, Colonel Lindbergh, who died rather recently, used to come every year to see the plane, see it hanging there.
That's the Bell X-1, and that's the airplane that General Chuck Yeager first flew faster than the speed of sound.
How long was it when the Wright brothers flew to the sound barrier plane?
It was about 45 years. The Wright brothers flew in
I remember thinking how big it was. It's bigger than you always see little models. This was large.
Let's go over here. Now this is the lunar module, you guys. This is the vehicle that actually landed on the moon, not this one here. Because the lunar modules that landed on the moon, we left the bottom half on the moon and the top half we weren't able to bring back.
Oh, look at the American flag on the back of the backpack. It's so small.
Okay, you're the one that wants to be an astronaut, right? Boy, have I got a deal for you. I want you to crawl in here and walk right over there and stand up beside those guys that are standing in the spacesuits there. Let's see how you look. Just crawl right over there. See if you look okay. You got to look the part before you can be an astronaut. Just walk right over there and turn around. By golly, I believe you'll make it.
There. I could just crawl in and take off right here.
Now, I want to show you all the First Ladies' Hall. This is one of the most popular parts of the entire History Museum. And here, the very first dress, that's Mrs. George Washington, the famous Martha Washington.
Are these the actual dresses?
They certainly are, and that's the fascinating thing about them. Each one is a dress that belonged to one of the president's wives in each case. Now, coming this way, you begin to see a whole sequence of the particular wives, each of the time and generation and period, in the clothes that they owned and had and wore when they were in the White House. Here's Mrs. Lincoln in a beautiful dark dress, wife of Abraham Lincoln. Here are the wives wearing the dresses that many of you, I think, will remember and be able to think about, starting with Mrs. Kennedy, then Mrs. Nixon, Mrs. Carter, and the present First Lady. Mrs. Reagan's is beautiful, isn't it? That's the off-the-shoulder gown, which created quite a sensation when she wore it, and she looked perfectly lovely in it.
I hope one of my dresses is in here one day.
Wouldn't that be fun? That would be marvelous. Well, I hope so, too. Juliana, I understand you're interested in flags. Is that right?
Yes.
You really are? Would you
Yes.
like to know about this flag here?
Yes.
This is a curtain which hangs in front of the real flag. In 1814, there was a battle outside of Baltimore in Fort McHenry. British had just been in Washington, and they had burned the White House, and they'd really taken over the city. So then from here, they went on up to Baltimore, and they had decided they were going to take Baltimore, and they attacked this fort, which was out in the harbor. And there was a big battle all night long, and the next day, the smoke cleared, they saw over the fort the flagpole and the flag waving. And that was this flag, this very flag that you're going to see in a minute. And Francis Scott Key composed a song. And after a number of years, this song went through several musical versions, and that song was the Star-Spangled Banner.
that flag was bigger than any other flag that I would hope to have. And I wouldn't even have a place to put a flag that big. But I would take it if they gave it to me.
We will return after these messages.
When you need a little lift, but you just can't take a break, chew Wrigley's Spearmint Gum.
The cool, refreshing feeling of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum puts a little lift in everything you do. That good, smooth chewing, that crisp, clean taste. That Wrigley's Spearmint pickup is going for you.
Wrigley's Spearmint Gum really keeps you humming. Wrigley's Spearmint Gum keeps you humming along. Wrigley's Spearmint Gum really keeps you humming. Wrigley's Spearmint Gum keeps you humming.
Assistant caterer reporting for duty. Welcome. Ready to feed an army? Now with the chicken salad I made last night, it tasted funny, not fresh like yours. Did you use Hellman's mayonnaise? Why? Is Hellman's fresher? The freshest. From the first spoonful to the last. So I know my recipes will always taste their best. Hellman's can make a difference.
Bring out the Hellmans and bring out the best.
Monday, Ron Howard must make a frightening decision.
You still want me to do it?
No.
Some called it murder.
You killed your brother.
To him, it was an act of love.
We will return after these messages.
Tuesday. Get him! 20 hillbillies armed and dangerous versus the A-team? That's not fair. To the hillbillies. Then keep your eyes on the only man who could follow the A-team.
Remington Steele. Perhaps you've heard of me.
Herbert!
Oh.
You're going to be surprised Tuesday.
We're making a name for ourselves.
Mr. President, would it be possible for me to get a flag that's flown over the White House?
Oh, I have to tell you, by law, the flags fly over the White House and fly until they're worn out, and then the law requires that they be destroyed. They're burned.
What's it like being president?
Well, Eliana, that's not the easiest thing to answer, but I interpret the position in this way, that in this government of ours, which is made up of three branches, as you know, the legislative, the judicial, and the executive, and that's the president's branch, the legislators, the members of the House of Representatives, each represent a congressional district. Senators each represent a state, and the president is the only one who is elected to represent all the people.
When I wrote you, I wanted to know about how you run the Senate.
Well, I wish I ran the Senate. Many times. You cooperate with the Senate and with the House. The leader of the House of Representatives is Speaker Tip O'Neill, Jr., if he doesn't mind my using his nickname. And the majority leader of the Senate is Senator Howard Baker. And so I don't run the Senate. I try to persuade them when there are things that I think Congress ought to do. We'll now go over to the Capitol, and you can meet the Speaker and the Majority Leader, and they'll tell you about the workings of the Congress.
I wanted to see how bushy Tip O'Neill's eyebrows were.
Well, I'm delighted to have you youngsters here, visiting the great capital, the greatest capital in the history of the world. This is the Speaker's formal office. I'm Tip O'Neill, the Speaker of the House. Well, every day I have a press conference, and the press comes in and asks me the current things of the day. What would you like to ask me?
What does it mean to be the Speaker of the House?
The Speaker of the House presides over the body. He presides over the Democrats and the Republicans. He has tremendous power in the eyes of the people. The most important thing, of course, he's next to the Vice President. Then the Speaker of the House is in succession to become the President of the United States if anything ever befell the President and the Vice President. He's the man that says what will come up on the floor and what will be debated.
Can we see Statuary Hall?
Oh, sure. You shouldn't come to the Capitol without seeing Statuary Hall. Why don't we go there now?
Okay.
Those statues that are there, very interesting. Each state in the Union has the right to name 2 people from their state by a vote of their legislature who that they think are worthy enough in history that they should be in the capital of the United States. Now I'm going to show you a very, very interesting thing. As a matter of fact, the state of Massachusetts put that little emblem there because when John Quincy Adams was a member of Congress, that is where he sat, and he was the leader of his party here in the Congress. Now I want you to all come over and follow me here. Now you see this little spot that's right here? Okay, I want you to stand around this spot. Now you just stand around that spot for a minute while I go over here. Very interestingly, because of the acoustics of this building, the leaders of the opposition party sat here, and John Quincy Adams could listen to everything that they had to say. And they thought it was a mystery. Actually, it was the acoustics. The voice bounced to the ceiling across the wall, and it came right to where you're standing. And I'm sure that you can hear every word that I'm saying. You know, I've been talking about John Quincy Adams.
He was pretty fun. I really couldn't believe it. I was meeting all the top officials like him.
How many of you ever knew that Davy Crockett served here in this room as a congressman of the United States? King of the wild frontier. Come on, I got some more things I want to show you. We're going to meet a very, very distinguished person over here, the majority leader of the Senate of the United States.
Mr.
Howard
Speaker,
Baker.
how are you, sir?
Mr. Leader, delighted to see you.
Kids
You are
can
now in the
go.
hands of Mr. Senator Howard Baker of Tennessee, the majority leader of the United States Senate.
Great.
Good luck, Senator.
Thanks. Let me
Fine.
meet him first.
Michelle Holcomb, Napa, California.
I'm happy to know you.
Kate Laporte from Michigan.
How are you?
Chris Turner from Springfield, Missouri.
Glad to know you.
Ileana Quanda from Washington.
I'm glad to see you.
Scott Kendall from Huntingburg, Indiana.
How are you, Scott?
Corey DeMarco from Avis, Pennsylvania.
Corey, it's good to see you. If you'll come with me, we'll walk to the room we call the Old Senate Chamber. It's here in this chamber, rather than the more modern chamber where the Senate meets now, that so many of the great debates of our early history were conducted. It was here, for instance, when the great debates before the Civil War occurred, the debates over slavery. Let me show you a few of the desks and where senators have sat. Great senators like Clay and Calhoun, Jefferson Davis. Who wants to be Webster? Come on around here.
I was thinking about all the fun that it would be. That is what I'll remember the most.
Survive. Where were we able to go see the original desks? You'd find when you pull this drawer out that there's a very interesting little sidelight to history, because every member of the Senate who's ever sat at that desk has taken a penknife and carved their name on the inside of that desk drawer. And in my drawer, for instance, you find Dirksen, you find Scott, you find Truman.
Have you carved your name in the desk drawer?
Oh, you better believe the first thing I did when I sat down there was to... Actually, what I did was take a paper clip, and I bent the paper clip and scratched my name in it, then took a pen and inked it in so people could see it. Why don't we go across the hall now, and I'll show you where I work when I'm not on the floor of the Senate.
When you were a little boy, did you want to be a senator?
When I was little, I really don't think I did. I wanted to be a pilot, fly an airplane. For a while, I wanted to be a radio announcer. I wanted to be a lot of things, but I can't clearly recall that I ever wanted to be a senator.
How could I become a senator?
Leanne, you very well might become a senator. I would say that the principal way for you to go to the Senate would be to keep up your interest in governmental affairs and stay interested in what's going on around us. You know, if you really want to do that, you can do that. And I would encourage you to try.
Are you and the Speaker of the House friends?
We are indeed, Chris. And let me tell you something. That's an interesting point. I'm glad you asked, because the Speaker and I know each other well, and we are personal friends. But we also are frequent adversaries, not enemies, but adversaries. Because he is a Democrat, he is Speaker of the House, I'm a Republican and the Majority Leader of the Senate, and sometimes our jobs require us to disagree, sometimes very forcefully disagree. And sometimes he wins, and sometimes I win.
Have you ever heard about Lincoln's ghost?
Oh, yeah, I sure have. I don't know whether I believe it or not, but you know, there are lots of stories about the spirits of people who've inhabited this place and been prominent in the nation's life, but none more prominent than the story of Lincoln's ghost. The rotunda is the place where Lincoln's body was laid in state after he was shot, after he died. And the catafalque, that is the wooden frame that his casket was on, is still used.
I wonder how long they lay there. Well, they don't lie here. They bring it up to the rotunda upstairs. Look at this plaque, you guys. Honored dead whose remains have lain in state in the rotunda, the United States Capitol, on this historic catafalque. Abraham Lincoln, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Dwight David Eisenhower, Lyndon James Johnson. Wow, Abraham Lincoln actually laid here. I wonder if his ghost is here.
We will return after these messages.
Introducing new sugar-free Kool-Aid.
Now kids have a sugar-free from Kool-Aid. It's gotta be one sugar-free for kids.
It's about time they made a sugar-free for kids. Pre-sweetened with NutraSweet, a new natural-tasting sweetener for that great Kool-Aid taste.
It's the one sugar-free for kids.
About half the price of soda with vitamin C. Kool-Aid makes the only sugar-free for my kids.
It's the one sugar-free for kids.
Kool-Aid brand sugar-free soft drink mix.
Why buy a gift at a Bell Phone Center? Because Bell phones make great gifts. Who else has hundreds of styles, each made to genuine Bell's high standards, and 107 years experience, and people who've made helping you their one and only business, and a 24-hour service assistance number? Who never forgets, this isn't the phone, this is. For great gifts, come to a Bell Phone Center. Who knows more about phones?
It's a world of new horizons. It's a world so tantalizing, where M&M's living with friends and making plans. You're playing hard and moving fast, but M&M's like the good times last, and M&M's melt in your mouth, not in your hand. All the world loves M&M's. The pure milk chocolate joy for everyone.
M&M's chocolate candies. The milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
Tonight, Robert Blake is Joe Dancer. He's caught in the middle between a beautiful girl and murder. The cops are dirty, the stakes are high, and the score is murder 1, Dancer nothing. Monday, look who's frowning while the kids are frowning. Will they love Sydney? And on the special Family Ties, Stephen consoles his dying father. Then, Ron Howard makes his most frightening decision.
You still want me to do it?
No.
Some called it murder. To him, it was an act of love. Monday.
Every country has a constitution, and many of the constitutions say many of the things that ours say. But the difference is, those other constitutions say, we the government allow you the people to do this, that, and the other thing. Our Constitution says we the people will allow the government to do the following things, and the government can only do those things specified in the Constitution, and all other rights and powers remain with the people.
How did you get the nickname Dutch?
Say, almost from the same haircut you have. When I was a baby, very small child, there was a haircut style that was called a Dutch bob. When I had that Dutch bob, and my father used to come home and When he'd come in the house, why, he'd refer to me as the Dutchman, in spite of the fact that I'm Irish and English and a little Scotch thrown in. That just shortened into a nickname, Dutch. And then when I got out of school, became a sports announcer on radio, I thought that that nickname was probably better than using my real name, Ronald. And so on the air, I used the name Dutch Reagan. And it wasn't until I got to Hollywood that they told me I couldn't do that anymore. I had to use my real name. But it was a haircut that did it.
I'm happy that you appointed a woman to the Supreme Court. I would like to know more about it.
Well, there are 9 justices in the Supreme Court, and one of them is now a lady. I had the privilege of appointing the first lady who has ever served on the Supreme Court. But I think the one who could best explain to you the workings of the Supreme Court would be Chief Justice Burger.
So he looked like a big guy, and he looked like he had a lot of power standing up on top of all them stairs. There's nobody around him.
Well, welcome to the Supreme Court. This is a building that's a little bit newer than the one you're going to see after a while. When we go over to the restored Supreme Court chamber, the one that was used from 1810 until 1859. In this room, some of the great, great cases of the United States Supreme Court, great cases in terms of the history of the country, were decided.
Do you have to be a lawyer or a judge to be appointed?
No, the Constitution of the United States does not require that a person be a lawyer to be appointed to the Supreme Court. No person has ever been appointed, however, who was not a lawyer.
How do you become a justice of the Supreme Court?
The president appoints the justices, including the Chief Justice, but it is with the advice and consent of the Senate. And if the Senate doesn't consent, the man can't take the office. Let me ask you a question. Would any of you like to be judges or justices?
A lawyer.
You want to be a lawyer? Well, that's the starting point.
I'd like to be a judge someday.
Well, would you like to see how it would feel to be a justice of the Supreme Court and come up and sit on the bench with me? How about it?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, let's go up. Now, let's not have all the ladies sit in one place and all the men in another. Let me see, is this the center? Where's the center seat here?
I am.
Well, you have to let me sit there. You have to let me sit there. I'll let you sit here. When the justices come in, the marshal of the court raps the gavel and he cries the court in, is the way they describe it. He says, oh yes, which means hear ye, in effect. The court is coming in, and all persons having business before the court draw near and give their attention, and then he ends up by saying, God save the United States and this honorable court. And then we all sit down, and then the Chief Justice announces the court will hear arguments first this morning in the United States against John Doe.
How long have you been a Chief Justice?
On June 23rd this year, it will be 14 years. As now I'm getting ready to be sure I'm prepared for the next 14 years. Maybe some of you will be very young judges by that time.
What were you thinking when Chief Justice Burger swore you in as president?
As I was being sworn in, I must say, I realized what I've said to you earlier about representing all the people. And I realized that what I was swearing to do was to do what, to the best of my ability and the best of my understanding, would be good for all the people.
I'd like to see how the FBI operates.
Well, that's easy to fix. The best place to do that's to go over to the FBI building and meet the people over there, and they'll tell you all about it.
Well, there have been 3 permanent directors, J. Edgar Hoover, Clarence Kelly, and myself. In fact, my badge has a number 3 on the back of it. As number 3. Now, the FBI, as we
I was feeling real excited. And I was going to meet William Webster.
What's the difference between the FBI and the police?
The police in your community, their job is to help keep the peace and to keep the streets and your neighborhood safe from criminals, from burglars and robbers. The FBI's job is to investigate federal crimes. Now, these crimes are such crimes as bank robberies, skyjacking, terrorist activity, the mobsters. And in addition to that, the FBI is the federal agency responsible for protecting you from spies and espionage agents in this country. And we call that foreign counterintelligence.
Where do the new agents train?
We train our new agents at the FBI Academy at Quantico, Virginia, not far from here. And I think I'll send you down there. And the assistant director, Jim McKenzie, has a few things to show you that I think you'll find very, very interesting.
My name's Jim McKenzie with the FBI. Welcome to the FBI Academy. And I hope to be able to show you a little bit about what an FBI agent does in training. We have a case going on right now, some agents in training. They've been here for about 12 weeks. And they're involved in a case that started about 9:50 last night. Okay, this is the crisis site. What we have here is a hijacking in progress. Somebody has hijacked the airplane. And what we're doing is we're taking the lessons learned in the classroom and we're applying them in a mock situation. This is play acting.
Hostage taker now, the man with the gun, is up in the cockpit of that aircraft there. And he's a little impatient right now. He's apparently he was on some drugs, or he was pretty high, pretty active for a while. And he's starting to get a little depressed now.
Jerry, where do you want to take this plane anyway?
Well, I've got a contact. I'm going down to Caracas. I've got to dry out.
I can get some help in the hospital.
Need some help in a hospital. Well, we don't want him to leave. What do you think I ought to do?
We have a hospital here.
That's a great idea. Great. Hey, Jerry, listen. We can get you some help here.
Yeah, but the thing is that they don't look too kindly on people that steal airplanes in this country.
Well, you know, I can't make any promises, but I can pretty well assure you that the U.S. attorney said he could get you into a hospital and get you dried out.
Well, I've been talking to you a long time, Richard, and I do trust you.
He's reached a point that we're very happy to see in hostage negotiations, and that is he's putting his trust in me to get him out of there.
To make sure that nobody gets hurt, let's get those hostages out of the aircraft. What do you think about that?
Okay, well, I don't mind doing that. I'm going to keep the pilot and the co-pilot in here, but I'll let the other people out of the aircraft.
Can you go on over and just flag them to safety over here out from under the wing?
Sure.
Just make sure that nobody starts any trouble.
No, nobody's going to get hurt now. That's the last thing in the world that we want.
We're very concerned about crime and its increase, and particularly the increase among young people. And we believe that part of that increase is due to young people using drugs.
Boy, we sure did learn that crime doesn't pay.
We will return after these messages.
Patty, you didn't finish your cereal. Don't you like the taste?
It lost its crunch.
What can I do?
Try deliciously crunchy Post Honey Nut Crunch Raisin Bran. Starts crunchy and stays crunchy with golden honey, chopped walnuts, crunchy cereal nuggets, and the goodness of Post Raisin Bran.
You finished.
It's a crunchy.
Oh.
Try Post Honey Nut Crunch Raisin Bran. Delicious goodness that starts crunchy
and stays crunchy.
How do birds fly? Where do zebras get their stripes? How can one sleepy fella ask so many questions?
Come on, now it's our time. I made some General Foods International coffee.
touch of orange.
It's orange cappuccino. I'm having Swiss mocha. I love that chocolate taste. By the way, where do zebras get their stripes?
Please, no more questions.
Celebrate the moments of your life.
With General Foods International Coffees.
Wednesday on Real People, Video Mania strikes. Man, the school hunk wants Natalie, and players scream with envy on Facts of Life. And the critics acclaim Buffalo Bill a classic comedy.
I won't forget this.
Buffalo Bill is hilarious, clever, and original.
Let's be close, personal friends. Wednesday.
Portions of Dear Mr. President were brought to you tonight by the 5 delicious flavors of General Foods International Coffees to celebrate the moments of your life.
We now return to Dear Mr. President.
Well, before you go, now these are questions, of course, that come from all of you in letters and so forth, but there's one letter you haven't discussed yet, and I happen to have it here with me. From Michelle. It's, Dear Mr. President, when I grow up, I want to be the first woman president of the United States. So can I please come to the White House and get the hang of it? Signed, Michelle Holcomb, from Napa, California. Yes, yes, you can. And may I say also, whether it's that, being the president, or anything else, what you should know now in this great country of ours is when you determine, and you may change your mind several times in growing up, but when you determine what it is you want to do and what you want to be, nothing can stop you. If you will stick to your dream and what you want to do, you can be whatever you want to be in this country. All of you, and thank you very much for being here.
We would like to thank the President and Mrs. Reagan, Chief Justice Warren Burger, Speaker of the House Thomas P. O'Neill, Senator Howard Baker, the Majority Leader of the Senate, Secretary of the Treasury Ronald Reagan, Secretary of the Smithsonian S. Dillon Ripley, the Director of the FBI William Webster, Astronaut Colonel Joe Engel, and Sidney Moore, who all made a dream come true for us. Your friends, Chris Turner from Springfield, Missouri.
Michelle Holcomb from Napa, California. Scott Kendall from Huntingburg, Indiana.
Kate Laporte from Birmingham, Michigan.
Corey DeMarco from Mavis, Pennsylvania.
Ileana Quanda from Washington, D.C.
Next on Chips, Punch models designer jeans to check out the low-down dealings in the world of high fashion. Then Robert Blake is Joe Dancer, caught in the middle between a beautiful girl and murder. The cops are dirty, the stakes are high, and the score is murder 1, dancer nothing on the Sunday night movie.
Hi, I'm Bob Soper. You know, the next 6 months is potentially the most dangerous period in South Florida. It's the hurricane season. But we'll get through it if we're prepared, and here's how. Look for